One thing that I should have mentioned is that once I start recording, or right before, I turn the air conditioner off, because I don't want to have that at the end of my cymbal decays or the end of the song decays. And also, when I set up to record, I'm going to set up hitting the drum as hard as I can and doing rolls. Do that on each drum, come back to the recorder, I'm going to see where my level is, and then either adjust the preamp up or down based on that. Always use the gain, don't use your fader. Set your fader at 0 or unity gain, or when I bypass the fader, it's just a straight going to the DAW, to the recording software, and I'm aiming for a peak between about -18 decibels and -10. But yeah, again, you're hitting the drum as hard as you can, just in singles, and that allows you to get just get a good level. If you're recording by yourself, even if you're not, the engineer will usually do that. That might be you. So you just ask the drummer, please hit the drum hard, single notes, just tap, 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 tap. And then once you get the level, tom, 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 tom. Everyone, and then the overheads, you do the same thing. Usually the snare drum is the loudest instrument, so overheads and room mics, just use the snare. So now you're going to see me play some drums. Alright, now I'm going to show you in the mix window exactly what I did to record my drums. Now this is a different method than you normally would do. This is how I got it to sound as good as it did, and it's actually a technique that I heard the Foo Fighters, you know, with Dave Grohl and everybody else. I don't know the other band members' names, Taylor Hawkins. Apparently they do this as well, which is to record the drums separately from all the other parts of the drum set. So this actually works really well when you do what I do, which is drum triggering. And the reason that is because normally you have the residual snare, kick, and other things in the overhead and drum room mics, but if you record it separately, you don't have that. So for example, this is what we have going on here. No EQing, the only thing we have going on the master track is ozone without anything except for the maximizer, so it's louder and you guys don't have to turn your volume knobs up. And then I also have K-meter, which is disabled right now. But overheads, you can hear it, it's clean, it's a very clean track. And then I'll show you the room mics. Yes, I'm aware there's a stereo balance issue there. And then combined. All right, and then what I'm going to do, I did not show you this because I already did it, but one thing you got to do when you use really any drum microphone, you should do this to every track. You got to be really careful about it. I'm zoomed in pretty tight right now, and in Reaper, I'm going to hold shift and press the up arrow a bunch of times so that my track waveform gets bigger and I can see where everything lines up. So, what I'm looking at here, the top two tracks here are the overheads, and then the bottom two are the drum mics, the drum room, I should say. And what I want to do is line them up so that they start approximately at the same time. And actually, I can zoom in even more or expand the waveform even more so I can see that. And they're all pretty much the same. And even though the overhead mics are the exact same, we're zoomed in so far that, I mean, really, if I wanted to, I could bring this over. Or really, yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. If you want to get them exactly the same, that's possible. And I would just move that over. And then I would have to move these over as well. These work better if you align them with like a pulse sound or a snare, because we're just seeing a hi-hat, and that's why I had to like make these so big. But we could also do this. Now, again, I'm like down to the very, very start sample, and actually it looks like they're lined up. I mean, we're down to less than a millisecond. So as long as they're pretty much even, we should be good. Now, before I moved them, they were off by a few milliseconds, and that can mess with your phasing. But once they're aligned, everything sounds good. So now that I showed you the overheads and the drum mics, again, I didn't record drums with them. And I'm going to show you I should mention that that's the reason why when I play this back along with the drumming video, you're going to notice that there's no crash cymbal sound every, I think, 8 beats or eight measures. That's because when I recorded it for real later on, when the camera was off, I had not done that. I didn't do a crash cymbal every 8 measures. And what I did previously to match the video in the intro on part 1, I just I redid, I realigned the hi-hat and everything else, but I didn't want to do this because it starts getting off timing when I play through all of it, and I didn't want you guys to get confused. But yeah, if you notice, when I hit the crash cymbal in the video, it's not matched up, and that's why. All right, so I'm going to show you the snare mic. No enhancements. Again, I don't have a new drum head. The drum head on that drum is actually probably 11 years old at this point. And even when it was recorded, it was 11 years old. I really have not changed my drum heads since, I think, the year 2002 or 2003. And I just don't have the money to, I already spent enough money to get where I am to record the drums. And I have a program that enhances the snare. I just don't have the money to spend on $30 or $50 or whatever it would be to replace all the drum heads, when I know that I'm already going to replace them with the sample replacement. There's no point in me doing that. But yeah, if you're wondering, hey, well, how come your drum sounds like shit? Well, that's why. It's tuned as much as it can get tuned, but it's not what I would like to have, which is Remo Ambassador. Let me say that again. Remo Ambassador coated snare top and bottom. I think the bottom is the one that came with the drum. And the drum itself isn't really that expensive. So yeah, you know what? You want to have a great sound in your home studio, go buy yourself a Ludwig Black Beauty $500 or $600 snare, and you'll get a good sound. Tune it up properly, it'll sound beautiful. Guess what? I got money for a sound percussion snare. Sorry if you don't like the way it sounds. I don't like the way it sounds either, so guess what I do? Now I like the way it sounds. So what's on this track? This lovely program that right now it's on sale for $99. That's right, for the platinum version. It's not going to stay $99. Normally I think it's like $150 to $200. Even when I bought this though, at a price of $250, to be honest with you, this plugin is probably worth more like $500 or $600 because it enables you to have a ton of great sounding drums in your mix. So to be able to get this plugin for $100, which is the cost of brand new drum heads that won't last very long anyway, I mean, that's a freaking steal. To knock me for for using this and oh, it's a crutch. Well, you know what? Send me a check for a ton of money so I can record drums. This is how we do it in Real Home Studios. That's why it's called Real Home Recording. Keyword real. We do stuff on the cheap, but we can do it so it sounds good. So let's listen to this snare drum again. Yep, and if I want less reverb, I can just mute this. Or bring the slider down. But once the mix starts going, I want it to be louder so I can hear it. So now onto the kick drum mic. Okay, without trigger. Trigger is also on the kick drum as well, of course, because again, a crappy, I don't know, poplar drum shell. I don't know what kind of shell it is. All I know is I'd love to have myself a nice DW set or a Tama set or a D drum set, something that's made out of maple. But you know what? I also want a Lamborghini. You can't have everything you want, right? So that's the kick drum microphone. I'll bring it up so it's a little bit louder. Nope, not a fan of it. Not at all. But, again, add trigger to the mix. Very easy to use program, which I'll probably make a video about. Now, if I wanted to, I can actually blend this with the original drum with this mix knob over here. But because of the way I recorded it, I really just want the whole thing in there. So combined, it sounds like this. Forgot to solo the snare. To be able to get that type of quality from a home studio, from a shitty drum set, is amazing. Again, guys, my cymbals are expensive. Those are the ones you want to have. I don't care what brand you have, either it's Paste. I would love to have some Paste 2002 signature editions, or the newer ones. Anything Paste that's, signature edition will work great. Zildjian, their higher end ones, like the ones that I, the new beats that I have, the double or the AV, I don't even know what I'm talking about. Avitas. And then I had the Sabian Explosion, which is like $180 now for that cymbal. I paid like $150 back when I got it, but inflation and all that nice stuff that happens. But yeah, very, very awesome sound can be achieved. Even in my basement, it doesn't sound too bad. Now you may need to add, instead of having a drum room mic, you would use a convolution reverb plugin like Waves IRL, and then you can get that for the drum room mic. I did a video a long time ago about a fake drum room mic, and that's a method that I use. Studio B in that basement, I use that, and it sounds fine. I mean, it's not the same thing as actually having a real drum room mic, but that's okay. Again, this is real home recording. So I'm going to play back the video and I'm going to turn all my stuff off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with just the overheads, and then I'm going to go and add the snare, the real snare, and then add the enhancement, and then add the room mics to finish it off. And then eventually I'm going to, I've been keeping this a secret, the electric guitar track. Oh, I meant to play the hi-hat mic for you, just so you guys can hear what that mic sounds like. Again, this is a modified MXL 603S, modified by Michael Jolly of Octavamod. So this was like a $60 or $70 microphone, and I spent, I think, like $230 or $300. I can't remember what it was, but it's modified to sound more like a Neumann KM184 or KM84, and I like it, so check it out. So, along with the other microphones, I don't particularly like the way it sounds with this track. I don't know, you know, maybe if I reduce it, let's see what happens. Yeah, so, you know, it helps get that more in-your-face sound, but maybe I'll add it. Maybe I'll add it after the drum room mics. But for this track, I like having just the overheads and the drum room mics. All right, enough of me talking. Let's play the video from the beginning, along with switching these tracks out as it's playing along. And here... Oh, hold on. All right, here we go. All right, cool. I should have had that hi-hat lowered, but whatever. You know, I think that's a pretty good sound. Pretty good. I'm being humble. That's a fucking awesome sound from a real home studio. And this is without mixing. Again, the only thing I'm doing... Oh, I forgot to add the electric guitar mic. Man. All right, I'm going to play it again to take the video for the video outro with the electric guitar and the video playing. And but I wanted to say that the only thing, as you can see on the tracks, there is no EQing going on. The only thing we have is trigger. So everything is pure. That's what I'm saying. The cymbals, the quality of the cymbals matters a huge deal, because if you don't have good cymbals, triggering doesn't matter. So if you're going to expend some money, that's where you need to have it at. And of course, the Shure SM81 microphone and the AT4040, they're not exactly low-end microphones, but they're also not Neumann $3,000 microphones. You know, hey, you know, the normal studio, or the normal ones, the $1 million studios have the Neumann Classic U67 for the overheads or the drum room mics. But we had the AT4040, which sounds pretty good. The important part is they're a match pair and condenser for the high end. So to capture the high end properly. And really, you start off with a good recording, it makes mixing so much easier, and you're going to hear that once the guitar goes in. So again, this has been Adam for RealHomeRecording.com. I'm going to take you out with the almost finished mix. Just got to add in a bass guitar. We haven't recorded that yet, but this is a cool little track. So here we go. One other thing I'll mention, I also recorded the overhead separately from the kick and snare because I suck as a drummer. Just didn't have enough time to practice on acoustic drums. Did as much as I could with the Rock Band electronic drums, but you know, I'm just not a drummer, and I can't hire one, so I can easily change where the kick and the snare is so the timing is as good as I want it to be. And you may want to do that too. I mean, again, this is all suggestions. If you want to record with the snare and the kick while the overheads and everything are going on, that's fine. It's really not that big of a deal because you can always do a high pass on the overhead and drum room mics, but it's something that I suggest, and it makes fixing things easier as well. So I'll do another outro anyway. This has been Adam for RealHomeRecording.com. I hope I taught you a lot in these drum recording videos, and I will do a video on trigger in the near future.